Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Friday. I hope you're doing well and you've had a good week. And I want you to do something very special for me this week. Sunday, in 2 more days, is a special day for your moms. It's Mother's Day. So I want you to be extra kind and extra nice to your moms. Maybe you could pick something up or do something nice for them that day. Today, I'm going to read Caps for Sale. It's one of my favorites. It's kind of a funny, silly story about monkeys. But before I do that, I want to show you our caterpillars. They're getting huge. Look how big they are. See them? There's still 5. There's one hanging right up here. There's 1, and then 1 at the very top. That's 2, and then 3, and then 4, and 5. But they're getting really big. I think maybe this weekend they're going to hang upside down and make chrysalis. And they will turn into butterflies in a little bit. But let's keep an eye on them and see if they keep growing or if they start to go to the top and go upside down to form their chrysalis. So they're eating a lot and they're growing a lot. Caps for sale. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like an ordinary peddler carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First he had his own check cap, then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. And he walked up and down the streets, holding himself very straight so as not to upset his caps. As he went along, he called, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street and he walked down the street calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." But nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody wanted even a red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," said he, and he walked out of town slowly, slowly, so as not to upset his caps. He walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," thought he, and he sat down very slowly under the tree and he leaned back little by little against the tree trunk so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were straight. Felt his hats. First his own check cap, then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. They were all there, so he went to sleep, and he slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. What's missing? Look at the peddler. What's missing? His caps are missing, right? But before standing up, he felt with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. But all he felt was his own checked cap. He looked to the right of him. No caps. He looked to the left of him. No caps. He looked in the back of him. No caps. He looked behind the tree. No caps. Then he looked up in the tree, and what do you think he saw? On every branch sat a monkey, and on every monkey was a gray, or a brown, or a blue, or a red cap. Silly monkeys. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do, so finally he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he said, shaking a finger at them, "you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, "Tss, tss, tss." This made the peddler angry, so he shook both hands at them and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook both their hands back at him and said, tss, tss, tss. Now he felt quite angry. He stamped his foot. Stamp your feet with me. He stamped his foot and he said, you monkeys, you better give me back my caps. But the monkeys only stamped their feet back at him and said, tss, tss, tss. Those monkeys are copying him, aren't they? By this time, the peddler was really very, very angry. He stamped both his feet and he shouted, you monkeys, you better give me back my caps. But the monkeys only stamped both their feet back at him and said, tss, tss, tss. At last, he became so angry that he pulled off his own cap. He pulled it off and he threw it on the ground and he walked away. If they're copying him, what do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to take their own caps off too and throw them down? What are they doing? But then each monkey pulled off his cap. And all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. Well, that was a good idea, right? Because the monkeys were copying him, so they did the same thing. So the peddler picked up his caps and put them back on his head. Which one comes first? His own check cap, then a bunch of what? The gray caps, right? Then the what? Then the brown, then the blue, and on the very top, yes, the red caps. And slowly, slowly, he walked back to town calling, caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap. The end. That's a silly book, huh? Those monkeys, those silly, silly monkeys. Well, I hope you have a great weekend, boys and girls, and tell your moms I said Happy Mother's Day. And remember, be extra good for her. Give her a great big hug and do something kind for her. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I miss you, and I will see you on Monday for another story. Bye.